Welcome to episode 16 of the Punk Bunker. I am Rocco Zappia, along with my co-host, the recently recovered sad Canadian, Darren Boyce. How you doing?
Better, I guess. I'm recovering from the fiasco of a World Junior tournament that was, but yeah, I'm recovering.
We did have to take here a couple days off after watching Canada losing the quarters and then watching the Americans skate around center ice in the capital of our great nation with the World Junior Trophy. That took a little bit to get over, but with that said, I got to give credit where credit's due. The Americans were the best team in this tournament from start to finish. They were the favorites coming in, and they did nothing to dispel that notion that they were maybe head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. Darren, what were your thoughts on how the Americans played in the semis and the gold medal game, and what led them to that championship?
So first of all, I just want to say something. The highest skilled team won. What a wild concept that the highest skilled team won.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and the traditionalist and the old school guy in me wants to say that, skill's not everything. It is about a little bit more than just skill, but at the same time, you do have to have it. It has to be both, and especially in junior hockey where mistakes are abundant, high skilled players can really capitalize and make the difference. And I think that's what the Americans were able to do.
So speaking of, again, in the gold medal game, I mean, I don't think Augustine played great that game, but they show, again, the U.S. actually showed a lot of kind of, a lot of character on that team because they were behind in that game and they worked hard to get back into that game. And what you kind of saw at the end when it got to the 3-on-3 is that the skill was winning out. Finland's pretty good 5-on-5. They're a pretty good unit. But when that game got to 3-on-3, I'm not even sure Finland got a shot on net in overtime.
And the Finns deserve an incredible round of applause here. Like hats off to Team Finland. They were coming into this tournament overlooked. Neither one of us predicted them to get a medal. And
I did.
You predicted them to get a medal?
I predicted them to get third.
Over Sweden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, Boyce is the better pundit here, I suppose, with the World Juniors, but they weren't expected necessarily by many people to make a run to the gold medal game, let alone getting within one shot on goal of the gold medal itself. I thought they played a really, really heartfelt game against the Americans, and they left it all on the ice there. And especially for a smaller nation, they really, really should be proud of that effort, I felt.
At least from what I've heard, kind of, around the media and that, I think a lot of people thought Finland would be, next year would be maybe a better year for them than this year. So
this age group hasn't fared super well at international competitions throughout the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I guess there's some positivity for them, and they should have a decent team next year. I think they have a lot of returning guys, some key guys returning. So
yeah, and they've got a chance to make another run at it.
Well, they're also going to be in the group that isn't Canada, US, and Sweden. They're going to be in a group with Czechia and Slovakia probably. So that's what it looks like.
Canada, US, and Sweden.
Yeah.
That's just wonderful for us.
And again, Sweden should be. I think Sweden's like 2 years from now is going to have a really good team. Whereas like next year, I think they might be a little bit younger, but
they've got.
They're still be good. They'll still be good.
They did not have necessarily the deepest pool of players in the 2024 draft, which is where a good chunk of next year's team will come from for most countries. And we're looking at the 06 birth year being the cutoff next year for the World Juniors. And no, you're right, not the strongest Swedish group, but we didn't think it was necessarily the strongest Finnish group this year, and they still came away with a medal. They're going to find a way to be competitive no matter what, I think.
Yeah. No, I don't think the U.S. will be as good as they were the last couple of years. I mean, they're losing a lot of, I would say, their game-breaking talent. But, I mean, if they can get a James Hagens back on the roster, they'll still have some decent returning guys. I mean, I think they still have Hudson. They'd still have Hensler. I mean, they'll still have some pretty key guys. They just won't have as many.
No, but they are going to lose. They are going to lose a lot of their offensive
Yeah.
firepower,
So, I
right?
mean, they're going to be, yeah. So it's going to be a little different type of team. It'll be a much more, I think, beatable team for these, other countries. Not to say they're again, they're going to be at home. They're going to be trying to 3P. I mean, it won't be
No,
never
but yes,
be
that
easy.
whole first line might be gone.
Yeah, it's possible. Do I?
Well,
No, I'm not
two of
sure.
them are
I'm not sure
gone
Hagen
for
should.
sure.
I'm not sure Hagen should be in the NHL, but that's a different conversation to have.
No, I'm not sure either, but
Yeah.
Perot and Leonard are both gone
Yeah,
for
they'll
sure.
be gone. But yeah, and I mean Canada again. It kind of goes down to what their roster selection is going to be next year. I mean, are they going to pick the right guys, or are they just going to go with a bunch of 5'10" grinders again and then
Well,
make it harder on themselves?
I think we can take a deep dive into that in a few minutes. Let's talk about keep talking about some of the other countries here first.
Okay.
What do you think? Actually, you know what? Let's go through this. I'm going to eat a little humble pie here. As we say we are, we're not too proud to be wrong. So coming into this tournament, I made a list of 5 World Junior predictions here.
Oh, yeah.
So let's run through them and see where I was right and where I was wrong. Then we can talk a little bit more about some of the other countries' draft eligible players. So number 1, Schaefer pulls away from the pack as the clear number 1 pick.
Okay, so I got to stop you right there. I think you're actually right that he did, but he got hurt. But I do think that the one game that he played showed how he's literally the youngest guy on the team. He's the most important guy on the team. I think that is pretty obvious that was the case.
I felt that even through only 1 game and half a period, he showed enough. He showed enough for me, and I don't think that Hagen's had a very good tournament, but he didn't do enough for me to close the gap that I had in my mind between him and Schaefer. Now,
So if I could just
I do think
one thing about Hagens, just before you go, I tweeted this, but he had 8 points against Latvia, Germany, and Switzerland, and he had 1 point against Finland twice and Canada. And who else did they play? The Czechs? I forget the other team they played, but he had 1 point against those other teams. So, I mean, is noteworthy. I'm not saying he was bad in those games. It's just noteworthy that he was picking up a lot of points against kind of the weaker opponents.
Yes, and that was something that makes me maybe not feel he closed the gap on Schaefer, at least in my mind. I know there's plenty of different opinions out there that are all valid in different circumstances, but I would have wanted him to be a little more dominant against at least one of the top teams, because I didn't see him really dominate a game against one of the more quality opponents. Now, that said, he is the youngest guy in his line, and he looked a little more comfortable deferring to the 2 older guys on his line. And maybe that has something to do with it, because Ryan Leonard, like, let's not kid ourselves, Ryan Leonard was driving that bus for the Americans, right?
Yeah.
And Gabe Perreault has probably the sickest mitts on the ice and is a top-notch playmaker.
Yeah.
And so for Hagens, he didn't need to go dominate because of how good his line mates were. That said, with a line that good, I would have expected him to at least get a couple points against some of the more higher quality opponents.
Well, I think too. I mean, look, I liked how he played. I mean, he's definitely gotten higher in my view of him just from that tournament. I don't think he played bad against any of those big teams. Just
No, he
wasn't.
didn't play bad.
I think
he just didn't dominate.
No, he didn't dominate.
Which is maybe not supposed to at
but
18.
he also showed me things that I'm like, okay, like these things actually translate. Like as I said before, I do think he is more of a scorer than maybe a playmaker. And I think even in the gold medal game, the game that he scored in, the goal he scored is the type of goal that he's going to score in the NHL and be, again, he's smaller, but he does go to the net and he does follow up plays really well. And that's a way that can translate for him to score goals. So like I think I'm much more bullish on him scoring in the NHL. I think after seeing this tournament, just seeing kind of his tendencies and how he's scoring.
Yeah.
I did like that. But again, it's just, it comes back to it. Like, I don't know if he's a centerman. So
no, and I don't disagree with you there. I do have questions about where he ends up positionally, but one thing that like was never a doubt in my mind, and maybe you need a little more convincing. I still think this is a player with, by the time he's 23, 24 years old, we're looking at a player with a 90-point floor over an 82 game pace.
It's just he's 5'10", Rocco. Like that's
So
like that.
Patrick Kane.
Yeah, he doesn't have the mitts that Patrick Kane had, though, but he's a better skater than
He
Patrick
doesn't have
Kane.
the 3 Stanley Cup championships with the Conn Smythe either.
He's a better skater than Patrick Kane, but I get it. Like he's gonna score points. Like
I'm the first guy to put down smaller players, so I'm going to play devil's advocate.
90's a lot of points.
Well, do you think, like, do you not think he has, like, I don't think the offensive point totals are going to be the question with this guy ever.
I'm just wondering, like I'd be more bullish if you said he scored like 35, 40 goals than 90 points.
Well, it's going to be pretty tough for him to score 40 goals without getting at least 85 points too.
We'll see. I'm not like, again, you're maybe a little bit more bullish on him. I think like 70 points is probably pretty,
but
pretty solid.
But 70 points isn't what it was 10 years ago. It's 70 points is not a first line player anymore, not an elite first line player anymore, right? The threshold of productivity has gone up. Like, look how many 100-point players we've had the last few years compared to those 3-4 years in a row when, like, it was Nash and Taylor Hall winning MVPs, right? Where they're under 100.
Well,
right?
are we talking about him as a 90-point player on a really good team? Is that what we're talking about?
I think he'll be able to put up numbers no matter where he goes.
Because, like, that's again my worry. Like, I'm not like, yes, I think he'll put up points. I'm just not sure, with the other aspects of his game. Like, I mean, I have some questions still kind of about his, other side of the puck. He doesn't have an easy time getting the puck back once he loses it. Like, that's another thing. Like, he struggles with that.
Yeah, but I don't think he's ever going to be the guy to go and be the digger on the line.
I'm just saying, though, again, these are concerns I have, and it's why I probably don't have them, 1 or 2 on my board that, other people have. I guess I maybe have more questions than other people do, but I mean, I think he can score. I think he makes fine. Again, it's a smaller guy. Like, that's just, and
how sick was that? The thing that really did it for me, though, like, how sick was that one goal he scored where he took the pass, made this insane cut, turned one of his feet almost 90 degree turn on one edge to open up the goalie up and just slid it right along the ice. Like,
yeah,
I mean, like, not many people in the world can make that play.
No, but he has highlight real ability, right? Like
but that's how you judge the upside, though, right?
Well, that is the upside, right? That's what people see. Like, the offensive upside is really high. You can make plays at high speed that other guys can't.
Yeah, his offensive upside is as good as anyone in the class.
Yeah, it's just, again, I have a bias. I guess it's pretty obvious. Like, again, I do worry a little bit about the size component. How much more room is there to to get stronger at that size? Like, that is always something I kind of question. And again, I don't know if I can use a top 2 pick on a like, if he's not playing center, like, I really can't use it. Like, I can't take him there.
I think that whoever drafts him is going to project him as a center.
They might. I'm just not sure that's where he'll stay.
Maybe not, but it's not hard. It's not hard for a centerman to shift to the wing.
Oh, I'm not saying it's hard for him. It's just it kind of reduces his value a little bit if he's a winger versus a centerman. That's all.
No, and that's fair. So I would say, in my mind, Schaefer's still clearing away number 1.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give myself a check mark for that.
Yeah, you did okay there.
Number 2, Canada struggles to find offensive depth and leans on McKenna. I got that one half right.
You got the first part right.
It's not my fault. I didn't get the second part right because they should have.
They didn't play him. So,
well, they did when they were down in the quarters.
He looked dangerous when they played him, but
finally got the looks in the quarterfinal game for the last 2 periods. But holy shit, where was he before that? Not his fault. On the bench.
I mean, I got that wrong too. I thought he would be the leading scorer of the tournament, and he wasn't playing. So
Canada struggled to find offensive depth, no doubt about it. Actually, you know what? I don't know if their offensive depth was the problem because they had about a dozen guys with 1 goal each.
Offensive ability.
Yeah, just goal scoring in general. So half a check there. Victor Eklund enters the conversation for the top 5. I'm gonna say that was accurate.
Yeah, and I think
his stock went up with his performance.
Yeah, I don't think I have him there. I mean, I have him 6th. I think that's still where I have him, but I think you're a
Well,
lot
if a
closer
guy is
now.
6, does that not mean he's in the conversation for
He
5th?
is, but I think you're a lot like, I think there was a divide before, right? I think you're a lot closer now. I have Martone 5th, and I think that's a lot more of an argument maybe now than it was.
I don't know that don't don't know that you take Martone over Eklund after what we just saw.
Maybe, but that's what I mean. Like, this wasn't an argument before, so now, like, so, like, I think you're right. I think
Yeah,
that that
he
definitely
did enough
plays.
he did
Yeah,
enough he did enough to push himself into that conversation, in the top of the 2nd tier of players here in this
yeah,
draft.
yeah.
I think we've got a clear top 3 or 4, depending who you ask. Um, and otherwise, I think Eklund is right there in that next. I don't see him getting into the top 3 just because of how, because he's under 6 foot. He's a winger, and I don't think he has the top end offensive upside as some of the guys in the top
Yeah,
3 or
I would
4. But
agree with that.
he's very, very few holes in his game, and he showed that. It's hard when a guy plays pro, right? Because you don't expect them to dominate their pro league, but you need them to look good. But he did come in here, and I thought the line of Eklund, Wahlberg, and Nilsson was Sweden's best line consistently for the second half of the tournament. At least the
Yeah.
first couple games, the Stenberg line was. But I mean, I thought Eklund and Wahlberg were an unbelievable duo, and Wahlberg is a perfect type of guy that Eklund's going to look to play with in the NHL level too, because he has a little bit more size and a little bit more physicality, and that works really well with Eklund's motor and skill set.
So a couple of things with Eklund, like, I'm not as hesitant on, again, I know he's smaller, so again, that would be kind of my hesitation there, but not as, like, down on him per se because of it, because I like the way he plays.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're a smaller guy and you kind of play a greasy game, there's lots of evidence that that works in the NHL,
absolutely.
with those guys. So,
I've
and
said it a
yeah,
hundred times. He can't be small and soft, and he has the motor that I don't really care about his size.
yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't have as much of a hesitation as I would with some other players. Um, and I think he's a pretty safe bet to be a top 6 forward on your team.
Sure.
And another good thing with him is, didn't really matter the competition. He was still kind of playing the same game. It was still quite effective.
Yes.
So he's kind of the guy that might, you know, maybe against, he doesn't maybe load up on the point totals against maybe the lower opponents, but when he plays the better teams, like, he almost looks better against them because of the game he's playing.
Yes, and he has an extremely consistent effort level.
Yeah.
Like, and even if he's not going offensively, he is going to find ways to bring other elements to that
Yeah.
game. So, like, I don't know that he ends up being a 75 plus point player, but I do think that he's a guy that is going to fit into a winning type of lineup.
Yeah, like, it's when you, like, go cold, right? Like, if a guy stays not scoring, or, like, they're a little cold, what are they bringing to the team, right? And he can still, bring positive, aspects to the team, even if he's not scoring, right? Like, that's
He can contribute a lot of
yeah,
things outside of the offensive zone,
yeah,
which you like to see. I think so. I thought he had a really good showing, and seeing him against his true peers for a tournament, I think um, reminded everyone that he does have some pretty high end skill there too to go with the motor.
so he's in your top 10 now?
Yeah, I never should have had him outside the top 10. I got a little cute overthinking that list, I think, and overanalyzing. But you do that sometimes. You overanalyze your things, and players aren't always about a pros and cons list on a piece of paper. In fact, they're often not. And intangibles is a word that comes up a lot, especially when people have a tough time quantifying why somebody is good. But I do think the intangibles there with Eklund are very, very high. So even if you don't like, I don't love taking a 5'10" winger in the top 10. But that said, if there is one, this is probably the guy that I'm okay with doing it with, because he works his bag off, and he's not soft. He's tough. Like, he's not
Yeah,
strong, but he's tough. He doesn't get, he'll get knocked over, but he's right back up in a guy's face. There's
yeah,
a 4 defenseman in front of the net. Well, he doesn't care. He's just going to go down there, crouch low, get leverage on the guy, and and still get a stick on the puck or force a guy to take a penalty, right? He doesn't make it easy for anybody. And I feel that's a huge feather in his cap. And I do think the offensive game looked more creative and explosive than it has at times against the pros for his club team, which is not surprising.
No, but I mean, yeah, he's still sixth for me. But I mean, I was definitely impressed with what I saw, and yeah, who else? What's number 4 on your list?
Oh, okay. So I got the first 3 pretty good there, pretty close. Number 4 and number 5, swing and a miss on both of those for me. And I'll eat crow a little bit. Hensler struggles a bit and moves out of the top 10. I thought he was really fucking solid for them.
Yeah.
Really solid.
Now his minutes did go down later in the tournament, but I think that's just because they started playing, Buell more and all that. Like I don't think he played badly.
No, he didn't play badly.
Yeah, he was pretty good early in that tournament. I think he held his own for sure.
He was a stabilizing. I think he was a stabilizing player for them, and I feel like having him out there, it let Hudson play the way that he wanted to, and having Hensler back there being steady Eddie really let Hudson run around with the puck and go create and go dance and do what he does, right? Knowing that you have that solid rock of a player back there. Now, Hensler didn't do anything to quell my offensive upside concerns with him.
Well, I think those are very accurate, and you should have them. I think that's a very fair thing to have.
But I think he's about a sure thing to become a second pair or top pair defenseman.
Yeah, like I think this is it's a right
I
hand.
don't think there's any way this guy's not a top 4D, even if he only puts up 25 points a year.
He's a right hand shot. He'll move the puck, and he can move the puck out of the zone. Like he can move the puck fine in the O zone. Like he's a play connector, I guess. He's not really going to create, but
no, and he may be the kind of defenseman where his best games are when you don't notice him much.
Yeah. And I mean, he was being more physical in this tournament, like which was good to see. That's what we wanted to see. And we were worried about that before. That kind of quelled that side of it with him. I mean, yeah. And again, he's got another tournament he can play. So I mean,
now, do you think just on the basis of his size, skating, and handedness, that makes him a top 10 pick, regardless of your feelings on his offense?
I think so, but that's partially to do with kind of what type of draft it is, kind of after the top 5 or 6. Like I think it does, but again, there are other options out there depending on what team is drafting there, because there are some right hand shot D, as you had Merca high on your list before. Maybe that's a guy that a team's targeting, just depending on what their philosophy is. So there definitely be teams where his that want a very smooth skating right hand shot that I think would work there. It's kind of dependent though. Like I think there is some dependency on the team picking.
I watched Mertka last night. I don't find he passes the puck hard enough.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
I noticed that too. Yeah,
he doesn't snap it around and you notice it more, especially after I was lucky enough to get to catch. What did I go to 8 or 9 games live over the last week and a half at the World Juniors, and the better players, defensemen especially, they really whip that puck around. And Nurtka's passes they're usually pretty accurate, but they're not always. They don't always have a lot of zip behind them, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some evidence of that in the viewings we've had. But I mean, again,
coachable trait, but just something I noticed.
Yeah.
I like to check myself, especially when I have a guy ranked way higher than everybody. I like to really pay extra attention and admit if I do see some things I didn't notice earlier.
So with Merca and Hensler, for instance, there's kind of a high-end skill or physical trait that someone's gonna really like, right?
Yeah.
But it's what flaws are you okay with, right? Like it's kind of the same. You have a decision to make, so it'll just be kind of, which one do I care about more, or which one do I want more?
I would say that my guess would be that more teams would probably have Hensler ahead because there's so little risk there. That said, I definitely think for sure there'd be a handful of teams that look at Mirka's total toolbox and the upside that's there and just say, yeah, we're not passing on this. I don't care if it takes him an extra year or two to get to the league.
So to me, I would put Hensler above him. Like I do value the skating better, at least to me. I mean, I think it's really. Again, I've already stated this. I think it's really high end.
I think Mirka's a better skater than you give him credit for.
He is, but he's not as good a skater as Hensler. Like Hensler's a
Oh,
really
he's
good
not. He
skater.
should be six.
So, but again, Mirka's 6'6", so like you can't teach size either. So that's, I mean,
You can't teach big. That's for
no.
sure.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, I would, well, again, once we know the draft order, which we won't know for a while, but we might get a better idea, maybe what these teams need and what they're looking at, just from maybe their patterns in the past. But I think Hensler, I mean, every team could use a guy who could skate like that, and he moves the puck fine. Like he moves the puck really well. So
I agree. So I'm gonna eat crow on that. He did not struggle for
no,
sure. His worst game was average, and that's a pretty damn good place to be for your worst game. And his good games, he looked really good. He has not moved out of my top 10, so I'm gonna give myself a big X for that. And the fifth and final prediction: USA versus Canada for gold.
you
Did
got
not.
half right.
I got that one half right. Yeah, for sure. But just the half. So I'm gonna give myself 3 for 5 there. Not bad, but not great.
Could have been worse. I mean, it's all right.
Could have been worse. That's for sure. So, anyone else of the draft eligibles before we move on to a fun little segment? Any other draft eligibles that caught your eye?
Well, I mean, we could talk about the goalie, I guess, for the Finns. Like, Petteri Rimpinen? He had a
Yeah.
great tournament.
Yeah.
I don't believe he was drafted last year. So I wonder if, he might be someone that you see kind of later on, get drafted just, as a shot for some of these teams. I mean, he's a smaller-ish goalie. But I do wonder if he's maybe somebody that a team maybe takes a shot on. I mean, he looked great against good teams in that tournament. So
He did, and he was very.
and he's a young, he's an underage too. So that was another thing too. So, I mean, I liked what I saw from him. I mean, Radovojevic, we talked about. I liked what I'd seen on video. You liked what you saw live. He's just, again, the small body is kind of what we're worried about.
Still not a first rounder
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, but again, he seemed to grow on you. But we were concerned that he might have got hurt his last game.
Yeah, and he looked like he got hurt pretty bad. I haven't been able to find a proper injury report, but
Yeah.
we'll see when he goes back to his club team if he's out for any sort of time. But
Yeah.
Again, he did play very well. He was probably the best puck mover on Slovakia. He really pushed the pace for him. And the thing that impressed me more is that he wasn't a complete useless turd in his own end. He actually defended pretty well in this tournament.
Yeah, for a small body too. So I mean, there's definitely some skill there. There's definitely a player.
In the NHL, you can't defend well for a small guy. You have to just defend well.
Well, we have gone through that, but yeah, at least we do like him. We wish he was a little bit bigger. So,
but I did think he played well. I thought Pobazal had a bit of a disappointing tournament for them. I hadn't seen him much. I watched one maybe 2 games on video, but I hadn't seen much of him coming into the tournament. Heard a lot of talk how he could be a late first, early second. I didn't see that in the games that I watched, but again, we talked about this before. You're not going to hammer a kid too bad for having 4 or 5 uncomfortable games or games below their talent level when it's different teammates, short tournament, that sort of thing, right? So, but I didn't see the potential first round pick that I had heard about.
Yeah. And the other guy I liked was Chauvin, but again, that's another guy we had talked about previously.
I thought he played really well. I think he knows what he is.
Yeah, he's consistent too. He kind of just does his thing. It's effective. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a top of the lineup guy, but there might be a player there, some guy you could maybe throw into
big
a
body,
lineup.
plays hard, can bang around, has some skill. I think he could play on a team's bottom 6 if everything goes well for him. So look like that'd be a pick I'd be kind of excited about in the mid rounds.
Yeah.
Round 4 or 5, you're happy to take that kind of guy, I think.
Yeah, he's young too. Like he was a younger player in this turn. Like I think he's a younger for the draft class too. So I think there might be a little bit more potential there too.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I thought he showed very well on a couple of occasions. So with that, we do have our mock lineup for the 2026 version of Team Canada, which we hope is a lot of the names that they're going to actually choose this year. Given how much high-end skill, geez, like the high-end skill was so depleted on Team Canada that the Prime Minister retired.
I don't know if we need to go over it again, but yes, they didn't bring their best team. There's
Dude, when
previous
you
episodes
lose
where we
so
talked
bad,
about
when you
this.
lose so bad, your Prime Minister quits. Not a good year.
Oh man, it wasn't great. It wasn't great.
Okay, let's bring up Boyce's here. Boyce, you want to run through your projected roster?
All right. So the goalies are pretty straightforward. I think we're probably going to have the same two guys. I mean, I think so. We have Carter George, we have Ivan Kovic. I put Ravensburg in there just because he's kind of the highest touted guy. I would honestly just go with whoever's playing well at the time. There's a guy in the CHL who's playing great, who's 19, 18. He's playing really well. I mean, that's probably who I would bring. But I mean, as of right now, that Ravensburg is kind of I guess who they want to be there. So I guess that would be, I'd go with him anyway. So our goaltending looks pretty good. I don't think there's going to be any problems there. Now with the forwards, I went with the Misa Desnoyers Martone line from the CHL prospects game versus the US team. I thought that line was very good. I thought that line had the puck the entire time. I thought they can all play together. This is a high skill line with a lot of defensive responsibility and has some size. I think this line, I have it labeled as the first line. I feel like this could really fit as kind of any line. It doesn't have to be the first line. I mean, they can go out and be very responsible against another team. You could also maybe put Seneca on that line instead of Martone, but I mean they'll probably go with some they've played together before, so they'll try that. Then I have McKenna, Catton, and Seneca. So again, Seneca should have been on the team this year. I mean, it gives a big body to these two maybe smaller guys. It kind of creates some advantages that way. I feel like there should be some high offense. Now, one thing I would say here, you could rotate the center and out of those two wingers here. If you want to put maybe Hage with them, something like that, or even maybe a Bear, someone who's kind of a grinder type. You could try that, but I mean, again, that should be a high skill line. So Ginla, Hage, and Greentree, again, high offense. There's some shooters there. There's some speed here. There's some size here. I mean, that again, high offense line. I'm not sure. Just thinking of the U.S. team or the Swedish team, I don't think they have three sets of defensemen or three lines that can really kind of go with this group of forwards. And then you'd have our fourth line, which would be a complete awful to play against. Yeah, so you have Zonin, who literally is trying 1,000%, hitting everybody, going to the net, playing along the boards, winning every puck. Carter Bear does the exact same thing. Both of them have a lot of offensive ability, but they are brutal to play against. And I think Sam O'Reilly is literally one of the most versatile and defensively responsible players in the entire CHL. And again, he can also play center and he can also play wing. And he's very good at center. He's a guy that can also jump throughout the lineup and plays really well with good players, and he plays well against better opponents. So again, I've seen time and time again when London plays good teams or when they get late in the playoffs, it's actually him out there on the ice, late in games, or he's the one that's producing in big games for them. It's not some of the other bigger names. So I think he deserves to be on the team. I'm not sure he will be, but again, London bias here, but I think he deserves to be on the team. Now, I left Luchenko off, or as the 13th forward. He might be in the NHL. I do wonder if I would be more comfortable with him instead of Catton on the second line. I don't think Catton was very good in this tournament, really at all. Now he'll be an older player at that time. I mean, he is a really good offensive player. But Luchenko also, again, very versatile and kind of play in a lot of situations. So I think that's good as a 13th forward. I put Baudouin there because he was on the team this year. I do wonder if you want to maybe put a more offensive guy there just in case someone gets hurt. Maybe a Tarek Parasak might be someone you kind of think of there. But I did give Baudouin the benefit of the doubt. We at least would have a bigger team here. I mean, that would be what we're looking for. We have a lot more game breakers on forward. So I feel like this would be a really tough team, for other teams to play. Because the other thing is too, we could play fast, you could play big, and then you have, some other guys that are really greasy to play against. So you kind of have some diversity in the way you can play. You're not just locked into kind of one specific way. On defense, I mean, you have Schaefer. He's coming back. I mean, he'll be on your first pair. I thought Brunick should have been on the team.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt. So, I mean, he should have been on the team. So, I mean, I assume that, again, if he doesn't make Pittsburgh, he would be back and probably make this team. Now, the pair I did want to see, which didn't come to fruition, would have been Dickinson with Parekh. And the reason I say this is because when Dickinson is not the offensive creator on the pair, I think that's a better spot for him. And I think this pair would work well because if it allows Parekh to be the actual kind of float around guy, Dickinson won't have it in his head to be the offensive guy. And I think he would actually, this is a good role for him. Then I put Kashawn Atchison and Landon DuPont. So again, I have DuPont making the team as 16-year-old basically. I mean, that speaks for itself. He's already a high level WHL player, and I think he could possibly make that team. Now again, I might be a little ahead on that, but I mean, I assume that he's going to develop more. I'm assuming he's going to have more ability, as the year goes on. And I think Atchison's a good partner for him because you kind of have a guy there that won't let anything happen to him. A guy that, can play with him. He'll be responsible, but he'll also, ensure that, DuPont has a bunch of room out there to kind of maneuver. So I think that's, and another guy who likes to lay hits, which again, we didn't really have much of that, or guys that can actually lay legal hits. So in that regard, we didn't really have a game where we went out the first shift and, kind of laid the body and got the crowd into the game. So that, again, I think that would be a fun pair anyway. And then I have Jackson Smith and Ben Danford. I mean, again, that's your 7th and 8th D. I think Smith can kind of jump into the lineup kind of anywhere. If you need him on kind of a top pair, he could play there. If you need him on a third pair, I think he could probably play there. I mean, he's a good rush defender. We've talked about he's a little, there are some decision-making, things in his game. But again, I do think he could probably play on a lower pair, especially if you kind of matched him up with maybe a more responsible guy. But again, we want to cover for injuries here. Danford's a responsible kind of right-hand shot D. Again, I think they'll like him. The other guy I did, kind of put on the list just as a question mark. Cam Reed might be a guy, just again, if we're worried maybe about a power play guy getting hurt. The thing is, on this team, I don't think we would have that problem because I think Dickinson would be about our 4th power play quarterback on this team. And so that's already, we're doing a lot better than we were. Nothing against Sam Dickinson on the power play, but I think there's at least 3 better guys here. So that might be something to look at there too. But yeah, I think there's a good kind of divide, I guess, there's some size, there's some, skating here, there's some offensive ability, there's some grit, and, we're matched up right, left and right hand, which we kind of weren't in this tournament either. So that's what I have. And yeah, so I don't know how much different your team will be, but I'm interested in seeing it.
Well, we'll talk about the differences at the end here. I'll go through mine. There really isn't a ton to differentiate the two here. The only difference in the top 6 is we have McKenna swapped with Misa. McKenna and Martone were wonderful together at the Holinka. I think that's a combination they may lean on to start, especially as 2 guys who are coming back. YA's perfect two-way guy to play with them. Misa, Cat, and Seneki, I think you have it all here. You've got the high-end skating with both Misa and Cat, and the high-end playmaking there, and two bona fide goal scorers on the wing who can both dish the puck as well equally in their own right. So I think that could end up being their most dangerous line on any given night. And I think those top two lines are pretty interchangeable. Either left wing, either center, either right wing. You could put those six in any sort of combination, and I think you're probably looking okay. A third line here, Malcolm Spence, who's one person you didn't have, as well as Caden Lindstrom. So those are the two forward differences. You had Luchenko and Baudouin. You're going to notice Jet Luchenko is not on my team, and that's back to the point that Darren alluded to. I think he's going to be with Philadelphia next year. I thought he showed very well. He was one of the only players on Canada I didn't have much of an issue with across this tournament. My only issue was his usage. I didn't think he was used enough in this tournament. But I'm very high on the player. I think he's going to play his way onto the NHL roster for next season, and he won't be available. That said, if he is available, he is obviously on my squad. Baudouin, I left off. I left off for a couple different reasons. Spence, Lindstrom, and again here, Spence and Lindstrom are the two differences. Like I mentioned, Spence, I think, versus Baudouin, they were kind of in there for my last couple spots in the mix. I just think Spence brings a little more versatility than Baudouin does. I like his offensive game better, and I think he brings a lot of the same two-way traits and work ethic and physical ability that got Baudouin on this team in the first place. But when he had so much trouble producing offense, I think maybe you go in the direction of Spence in this case, and keep in mind as well that they are the same age despite being one draft apart. They're both born in the same year, so next year would be Spence's only opportunity to play at the World Juniors. Caden Lindstrom, that's going to depend on his health. I think for him, if he can finish off this season somehow and start healthy next year and have a very good start to next year, I don't think there's any way he's left off the team, given his draft status and his physical package. 6'4" center who can skate and score. It's tough to leave that off the team if he's healthy. That said, that's the asterisk for him, and probably a decent reason why you may have left him off yours.
Yeah.
Again, I think he would have been on this team this year if he wasn't hurt. He's the perfect player that could play on any of your four lines and excel in a tournament like this. His versatility and his work ethic and his shooting ability is going to be invaluable, and you can plug him and play him wherever you need him, and I think he's going to look really, really good. Zonin, Hage, and O'Reilly, very similar fourth line. I just went with Hage over Bear here just because of Hage is a little bit bigger and he's a little bit better skater. And with Zonin and O'Reilly, I wouldn't mind having just a little bit more speed down the middle compared to Carter Bear. I think Bear, Zonin, and O'Reilly bring. I don't think O'Reilly's as good as the other two offensively, but I think all three bring very similar elements of work ethic and two-way play and being well-rounded players. But I do think that having a little bit more speed down the middle there might help with those guys. And then Bear and Greentree is my two extra forwards. Greentree is there because, well, his size and his offensive production are pretty hard to ignore. And if you have one of your top six guys go out, or really here we have three pretty good scoring lines here. And if one of those scoring wingers goes out, Greentree can step in to that role, especially if it's a guy that's playing on your power play. He's very good in that role in juniors. So he could plug in for that. And Carter Bear, I really think he's kind of like TJ Ginla light but at center. He can play in the sense that he could play in all 12 forward spots probably and not look out of place. He could play on your first line and your fourth line equally effectively. And I think he could be a guy that might start as a 13th or 14th forward and find a way to make a name for himself throughout the tournament. Goalies, we have the exact same thing. I don't think there's any doubt in the world that Carter George is going to be the starting goalie for this team next year. Ivan Kovac did nothing to play his way off the team, so he's going to come back. And then I went with Ravensburgen, but I'm not, as a third goalie, I'm not super fussed about that pick either way. On defense, we only have one difference. I've got Spencer Gill in there rather than Ben Danford. He's just a little bit bigger, a little bit more mobile, a little bit more of a two-way ability without really, I don't think he's bad in his own end. I don't know that he's necessarily the shutdown guy that Danford projects to be, but I think he just brings a couple more elements that you like. So I went with him, and hey, he's from New Brunswick. I gotta put a Maritimer on there. Well, come on. I like my Maritime guys. So Spencer Gill gets a spot, but other than that, we even have the pairings the same. I think Schaefer and Brunick is a pretty natural pairing. Brunick is a very, very, very solid player. He could play the steadying role for Schaefer and let Schaefer really confidently flow about the ice. Dickinson and Parekh, same reasoning that you gave. I like Dickinson a lot more when he is given the more defensive role, where it's collect the puck, distribute the puck, and make sure everything stays steady. Again, it would allow Parekh to run around and do his thing. Aitchison and DuPont, again, enough said. You got our toughest defenseman there with our youngest defenseman. DuPont could be an absolute X factor at this tournament. I think he's about as good as anyone not named Schaefer already on this list. I think if you're putting together a team right now, geez, what he's been doing this year as a 15-year-old is mighty impressive. So I think it's going to be tough to keep him off the team next year. And then Jackson Smith, again, very versatile. If a offensive player goes out, Jackson Smith can step in and play on the power play. If a more defensive player goes out, he can step in and play the steadying role because of his size, skating. His rush defense is quite good. His stick's very good. So I think there's that 7-8 defensemen are just both good two-way guys with some size. So I that's kind of why I went in that direction there. Some bubble guys that we maybe, so these are guys that we both left off. I mean, I've got Svensson, Lindstrom, and Gill to Boyce's, Luchenko, Baudouin, and Danford. So those are the differences. But here are guys that neither of us put on the team that might be some other interesting options. Kieran Walton, Sasha Boisvert, Tarek Parasak, all three guys who were picks last year. Boisvert and Parasak were both first rounders, and Walton was a 6th rounder who's absolutely exploded this year. He didn't get many minutes last year on a fairly deep team, and he's showing what he can do with an increased role this year. Lyndon Lakovic, Jake O'Brien, and Roger McQueen has some other options. Lakovic, big strong offensive winger. I think his lack of two-way play might keep him off the team. He's not great both ways, and he competes hard when he feels like it, and other times he doesn't. So I don't know that that'll fly. Even though Team Canada has a mandate to go more skill, I think that we've picked some guys who have a lot of skill but better motors as well. Jake O'Brien, this guy could actually end up being, I almost put him as my 14th forward. I find that he could be a very, very versatile player for them. Big body, very good skater, very good playmaker. He does a lot of things well. He's a very smart player, and smart players can tend to go in and play with just about anybody. So if we're looking for another up and down the lineup guy, Jake O'Brien might be a pretty strong candidate. Roger McQueen, again, a lot's going to have to do with his health and how he finishes this year and how he starts next year. There are some questions with his game, but he's got way too much talent not to at least mention, and he's going to be in contention for this team right down to the very end. On defense, Henry Muse, Reed, and Verhoff. You mentioned a couple of these guys. I just don't think. I think the guys that we picked are either a little bit stronger offensively or a little bit stronger defensively than these guys, and these guys are maybe your more tweener type guys that are more suited for a specific role. And I don't know if that's going to be enough to beat out some of the guys who are either really elite offensively or more well-rounded. And then Gardner and goal could be the other option instead of Ravensburgen, depending on how things go. So Anyone here that you'd like to mention that I maybe left off this list?
No, not really. I just wanted to talk about Lindstrom though.
Yeah,
So the reason I didn't put him on the team, like he's out for the year again.
I know.
Like, so he's kind of an X factor for this team because I do believe if he's healthy, he can make this team and be, honestly, to me, he might fit into that O'Reilly spot where he could play wing and center. Like, I think that's kind of where he would maybe form or sub in on the team. I think there's, he's just a bigger body. I think there's a little more maybe talent there. But I mean, it's hard to really know what he is right now because he doesn't play.
Yeah, big time.
So, I mean, and we aren't going to see him until, I guess, next September. Like, I don't know when he's playing again. So, and it's the same with McQueen. It's kind of like he looked kind of good to start the year, but now we haven't seen him for a couple months. And like last year, he was hurt a bit. And I already had some kind of question marks about him. So I'm not as, maybe I don't really see it with him. I mean, I could see Parasak or O'Brien maybe being options, just, as you said, O'Brien maybe brings the two-way, kind of portion they might want. Parasak has that high offensive ability. Again, we spoke about it before. Maybe you're looking, the 13th or 14th forward, maybe having somebody who could step in, to the lineup in a highly offensive role. I mean, you use Greentree there, so kind of like that. I think that's that might be something maybe they're interested in. But I think most of the guys we chose are pretty similar. I mean, I like your idea of Malcolm Spence. I mean, every time I see him play, he looks good. He plays well with good players too. We've seen him, numerous times, and he kind of plays with his peers. He plays really well with them.
He's awesome anytime he puts on a Team Canada uniform.
Yeah, and he plays well, but he can play, on a first line with those guys, and he's good. He can play on a top power play unit with those guys. He's good. He cannot do that and still be good. So, I mean, I think that is a pretty good option. So again, it can definitely maneuver around. I wouldn't be surprised if he made the team at all, though. I mean, he's a bigger body, skates really well, tries really hard, has some offensive ability. So,
the other thing too, and we can't discount this, he does have a history with Team Canada.
A good one.
Hockey, a very good one.
Yeah.
Decorated history with them.
Yeah.
And Team Canada traditionally values guys who have been in their program before.
Yeah.
Now, that may not be the case because of how bad they fucked it up the last 2 years. So they may want to go in different directions, but typically the fact that Spence has played for Canada in other international events in best on best for his age group and looked extremely good doing so, I think that he does have an inside track at one of those bottom six jobs.
Well, bigger body too, right? Like it's, he's not going to be. You notice on this team, there's not a lot of the 5'10" guys anymore that we've chosen.
Doesn't work.
But it's also with this group. I mean, there are some bigger guys here, and there's some guys that play like a powerful game here. I'll mention Desnoyers again. We both put him on the first line, which nice work. I agree with you on that. But even he, again, he's like 175 pounds. And if you watch him play, he still kind of plays he's a guy that's just very hard to get off the puck. He's just a strong, strong guy. Like Porter Martone, again, is a very, very strong player put in the right situations. Like it's, Seneca, again, especially now, he's just getting into his size. Like, again, very strong player. Like this is, these are the type of things that we're going to have next year that we didn't have this year.
We hope.
Well, we hope, yeah.
These are the type of things we could have.
Yeah.
Now, I could see Seneca making the Ducks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and there's a history there of them having young guys make the team. There might be a spot open. I mean, Zegras is hurt. They've wanted to trade him. Like that might be, there might be a spot opening up on their top six, maybe. So it's possible that he could make that team, but I don't know if that's best for him. I mean, I don't even know if that's best for them either.
Me neither, but it would be a big blow to Team Canada. That'd be one of their best offensive players. That said, I do feel like next year's squad would have the depth if he does make the NHL, that they'd be okay.
Well, like on your roster, you would subbing Green Tree there, so that's not. I mean, that's not a. Yes, we've downgraded, but we haven't really downgraded a lot. I don't think.
Oh yeah, I agree. You have guys, and that is one of the things like I like about this group of forwards. Despite the couple guys that we have difference, but most of the forwards on both of our teams, I'd say at least 9 of those guys could go play on all 4 lines and look really good.
Yeah. Well, it's even
Catton's
with
not playing in your Catton's not playing in your bottom 6, and O'Reilly and Beaudoin are not playing in your top 6. But other than that, anyone can play anywhere.
But I think O'Reilly can, look. You know what? I'm not going to go off on that. He's going to be at the top line for London next year.
That's not where he's best suited.
No, it's not. But he's. I mean, he's.
Yes, boys. He's good enough to do it. Okay, we all love Sam O'Reilly. But it wouldn't be your first choice.
No, it wouldn't. But anyway, the point is they have a lot of offensive ability. They have some big offensive guys. They have some speed offensive guys. They have multiple ways they can beat you now. You're just not pigeonholed into one way of playing.
No, and I think with the added size and skill that this lineup would project versus the one that we just saw lose in the quarters, coupled with the Americans losing at least their 2 top guys and maybe all 3, I think Canada would go into that tournament as the favorite.
They should. I mean, we would have, again, I think if this was the roster close to these rosters, we would have more game breakers this time, which we didn't have.
And you'd be able to patch a hole if a guy goes cold or gets hurt.
Yeah. Which
we couldn't do this year. If our horses went cold, which they did, we had no way to mix it up.
Yeah.
Whereas with both of our versions of next year's team, that wouldn't be an issue.
Well, they should have 3 lines that could score. I mean, we should. Now, again, depends who they pick, but I think we should have, enough guys who can create offense, and again, create it in different ways. So whether it's creating it off the rush, whether it's creating it with cycle play, like we have some high-end cycle players here. Yeah. Like we have some guys that, big guys who can handle the puck, create advantages that way, just, with how they manipulate space. I mean, these are things that you need to have different ways of playing if a team's shutting you down in one other facet of the game.
Yeah, I agree. This would be a team that could beat you with skill, or they can shove it down your throat if that's the way you want to play. And I think they'd have no issue finding success either way.
Like, for instance, we said this before, but for instance, this year, like they're having trouble, winning battles and kind of getting towards the net. Like, would Bill Zahn not have helped this team this year? Just like literally change. Like, just throw a guy out there, cycles the puck, gets to the front of the net. Like, it's just, again, and it's not hard. It's not the most electric hockey, but it's very it's effective.
Well, it's pretty electric.
Yeah, it is, but not everyone can do it, right? But he's a guy who can do that. So I mean,
if you put Zonin, Misa, and Desnoyers on this past year's team, that would have been our best line.
Bold, but I'm not going to say no.
Am I wrong?
I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no.
Did we have one good line the whole tournament? Do we have a good line out there?
I mean, Richie and McKenna were good for 2 periods.
2/3 of one line for 2/3 of one game. Yeah. Fucking awesome.
I think you're still mad.
Of course I'm mad. We got embarrassed, dude, at home.
Yeah.
Capital of the country, losing in the quarterfinals. Yeah. And the worst part is not even a surprising loss in the quarterfinals.
No, I think that's why
they didn't go in there. They didn't go in there and lose in the quarterfinals on some freak play or some goalie standing on his head. They just lost because they weren't the better team. And that's the part that still has me pissed off, because if you're going to you can go in and be the better team 100 out of 100 games, and you still might only win about 90 of them, right? But, and that 10% of games where you're the better team and you lose, you're okay with that sometimes, because it usually means that one guy, usually a goalie, played unbelievable, or you just had some terrible, terrible puck luck.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. The Czechs were the better team.
And well, even if you're playing the US, like what percentage of the time was Canada winning that game?
These 2 rosters?
Yeah.
20.
Yeah. Like it wasn't something where they were even the favorite, well, an overwhelming favorite.
No,
Like I would, yeah. So I mean, next year this should be different. I think I do think this should be a very high quality, high skill, very exciting roster. I think this
look,
is an easy team to cheer for too.
this looks like on paper the best roster that we've put together in a few years.
And there's guys in this team that are very easy to cheer for. Like I think,
A
which
lot of guys with high work ethic and high skill.
yeah, which
Yeah.
you're yeah, which is kind of what you want to see, right? Like you don't want to see kind of guys dogging it or being on soft plays, which is kind of what was happening here.
Dude, I tell you, I had a tough time penciling Catton into the top 6.
Yeah. Well, he
He's
didn't
gonna
play
be
well.
there. He's gonna be on the team.
He will. He didn't play well.
No, we didn't. But I don't think he had guys. I don't think he played with the right combination of players
Well,
to.
that's the story of the team, though, right? It wasn't you. No one was ever really in the right spot.
No, he needs someone to open the ice up for him, and he needs a true finisher so he can like
Yeah.
his creativity and his puck handling and his passing are phenomenal. Like I'm gonna give him that, but it's tough when there's no one opening the ice for you and you can't do it yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the lineups we have, he's either playing with Seneca or Martone. So,
And
I
well,
mean,
that's
like,
it.
and then he's got Misa's on one of the teams and McKenna's on the other one or something. So,
Oh yeah, he's surrounded with better players, then
yeah.
he's gonna look better naturally. So
Yeah. So, anyway, hopefully next year's better because this year sucked.
it was tough, but I'm still wearing my Hockey Canada hoodie here with pride. They're still our guys, man. Still our guys. Just
Oh boy.
cheer for them blindly, no matter who we pick. But I don't think there's any way. I don't think they could have picked a less effective team next year. So
No.
there's the bright side. We can only go one direction.
Well, there's too much talent. I think this is especially I think this draft year again, 2025, a lot of people are saying, maybe it's not the best draft, but in terms of CHL talent, it's
Really
actually
strong year
it's
for
really
CHL.
good. It's really down for the US. Um, other than really Hagen's really. And it's Sweden's got it pretty good. I think Sweden's actually pretty good as well. But this should be the age group that Canada should probably get back on top. Like it should be anyway.
I agree with that. I would say that they should be the favorite going in next year, but at the same time, you don't want to disrespect the two-time defending champions because they've earned that. They've earned that.
No, they've earned it. It's just it won't be as good of a US team as they've had the last couple of years.
No, and thankfully for that because what they just did to us on our home ice. I would really.
They also had room. They also had some room to spare though. So
I would really like to do that to them on their home ice next year in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Especially for the 50th edition of the World Juniors too. That'd be a big one.
Maybe Russia will be back in the tournament. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see. That might be a while still before we see that, but I don't want to get into that.
No, fair enough. I'm not going to delve into the politics of it, but it is, as a fan, it is kind of, again, no offense to Kazakhstan, but it is a bit of a, it does make the tournament a little bit more dull than it could be. That's all.
Yeah, I just don't see how it's truly. I don't see how it's truly a best on best without Russia there.
Oh, they're one of the top 3 teams, so
Top 4, but yeah.
So, I mean, and even that we've, again, looking at some of the scouting this year, there's, some decent Russian talent there that we don't get to see. So, I mean, it's always nice to actually be able to see them at the World Juniors too, because they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so you never see them.
They're just kids, man. Let the kids play.
Yeah.
But that's I think that's a good spot to wrap it. I know you got to get going to some very high quality men's league hockey tonight.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I'll let you go take care of that.
Some pucks.
What's that?
Stop some pucks, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'll give you one thing. You get the best glove hand in beer league.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
No problem.
Feels like a backhanded compliment right there.
Well, fuck you. I could say you had the worst glove hand in beer league. That'd be even worse. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're gonna get back to some 2025 draft coverage later on this week, And we actually have a pretty fun interview lined up, which we'll talk about some more details in the coming episodes as well. But stay tuned for both of those. Thank you for sticking around for our World Juniors coverage. It has been a lot of fun despite our general grumpiness from Team Canada's performance. But hey, it's the most fun. I said it at the beginning of the tournament. It's the most fun hockey of the year. It was a really special tournament. The organizers and the host did a phenomenal job. Everything was super smooth here from a logistics standpoint. Taken from someone who lives in the neighborhood of one of the rinks, they did a great job organizing this. So kudos to everyone on the organizing committee and in the city of Ottawa who helped make this happen. It was a hell of a tournament despite the result not being what we wanted. So that'll cap off our World Junior coverage. And like I said, back to some draft coverage starting later this week. Boycer, we'll talk to you soon.
Can't wait. We'll talk to you later.